Thanks, David Lee Roth. Your massive, psychotic, narcissistic ego is still shitting all over the Van Halen legacy and the fans, the people who made you rich and famous. Today, I'm going to dive into a few things that are going on with the Van Halen situation, including David Lee Roth, Alex Van Halen, and of course, the master himself, Eddie. Now, as some of you might know, when I was 7 years old, my dad bought this album and it blew my brains out. It was the first Van Halen album. Just try to imagine being 7 years old and hearing these things. Just try. Needless to say, Eddie is one of my lifelong guitar influences and always will be. In fact, the modifications I did on my Strat were pretty much copying Eddie's stuff, putting a full-size humbucker in there to replace the single coil. First, let's get into the article from Guitar World magazine. I'll briefly get into it here. Now, they're referring to Alex Van Halen. Among other revelations, he discloses the reason why Roth formally parted ways with the band following the dizzying success of Jump in 1984. He couldn't handle the fact that Eddie was getting more attention than he was. He kept asking Eddie to play fewer solos. Are you fucking kidding me? Fewer solos? Dave was convinced he was gonna be a movie star. Talk about a massive bloated ego. And of course, as we know from the history, this never happened. He crashed and burned after 2 solo albums, doing a few more solo albums that no one's ever heard. I mean, seriously, you got Eddie Van Halen, one of the greatest guitar players on earth, in your band, and instead of praising and pushing him and elevating the band by being supportive, he's got to be an egomaniac, wanting more attention to himself. I mean, seriously, this is beyond prima donna. I don't even know what to say about this. And so you can imagine what these tensions were going on in the band for a long time, and it was always the case. So let's see how this leads to him shitting on the legacy yet again recently. This comes from the Rolling Stone interview with Alex recently. There was a moment when it seemed like Van Halen, the band, might survive the death of its guitarist. Rumors of a planned post-Eddie tour with Alex back on drums behind frontman David Lee Roth were true. Shortly before the shooting range incident, Alex and Roth began early rehearsals for that tour, with 2 musicians from the singer's solo band serving as seat fillers. The idea was to eventually bring in Joe Satriani on guitar and maybe even original bassist Michael Anthony. I would have loved this, who hadn't played with Van Halen since 2004, after which he was replaced by Eddie's son Wolfgang. In those early rehearsals, Alex Van Halen started feeling some problems related to his spine injury, and he wondered if it was an omen from above, a warning not to do the tour. I was at that very last show of the last Van Halen reunion when they played at the Hollywood Bowl at my hometown in LA. Anyway, back to the story. The plans ended up collapsing anyway, even before his vertebrae did. After several phone conversations with Queen's Brian May about how that band carries on without Freddie Mercury, Alex came away with ideas about how to proceed. The thing that broke the camel's back, and I can be honest about this now, Alex says, was I said, Dave, at some point, we have to do a very overt, not a bowing, but an acknowledgement of Ed in the gig. If you look at how Queen does it, they show old footage. At the moment I said we gotta acknowledge Ed, Dave fucking popped a fuse. The vitriol that came out was unbelievable. What a surprise. So basically, because his massive ego couldn't handle a tribute to Ed, which this whole concert is about anyway, can you believe it? This dude and his psycho ego. He can't handle a simple little tribute to Eddie during the show. That's the whole point of the show, is to pay tribute to Eddie Van Halen. Not you, you stupid ass. Nobody cares about you, Mr. David Lee Roth. You were just another of the hundreds of cover band singers in the LA bar band scene. Without the musical genius of Eddie Van Halen, you might just still be a used car salesman somewhere. So you have a big problem with the tribute to Ed every night? The reason that you are there and the only reason that you'll become famous anyway. And you don't want to give him a tribute. Listen, dude, you would be nowhere without Eddie Van Halen and Alex Van Halen. So this is really sad to me to hear. And guess what? There are a bunch of singers out there that would be so much better. Look what Queen is doing. Van Halen can do the same thing. If Alex Van Halen can get over his injury stuff, that would be amazing. I would love it. I would love to see him back on the drums. Alex Van Halen is one of the best rock drummers of all time. Just listen to the countless sick grooves that he always laid down. And those insane fills throughout all those early albums later on. He was part of the engine that drove Van Halen. And I would love to see Michael Anthony back. He is part of that vocal sound of Van Halen. Those harmonies and those driving bass lines and that big fun smile he always has. Come on. And with Joe Satriani on guitar, I think that would be good. But I mean, honestly, I think Nuno Bettencourt would have been a better choice for the guitar player. Or even Dweezil Zappa. Either of those two guys would be perfect for that job. Both of them have an advanced PhD in Eddie Van Halen's guitar playing. So anyway, I really hope this turd, David Lee Roth, goes away forever. No one cares about you. And no one believes that you helped Eddie write all those great guitar solos. I'm sorry, but maybe you helped sing some memorable vocal lines that he copied on the guitar, but whatever. All I can say is it's completely maddening to hear about this. Time and time again, David Lee Roth shitting on the Van Halen legacy. As Alex tells it, Roth simply refused to pay tribute to his brother. Roth simply refused to pay tribute to his brother, Eddie Van Halen. What an... He found the very idea offensive for reasons that Alex cannot comprehend. Alex was displeased. I'm from the street, he says. You talk to me like that, motherfucker, and I'm gonna beat your fucking brains out. You got it? And I mean that, and that's how it ended. Alex remains baffled. It's just, my God, it's like I didn't know him anymore. I have nothing but the utmost respect for his work ethic and all that. But Dave, you gotta work as a community, motherfucker. It's not you alone anymore. All right, next up, we're going to talk about this whole Eddie Van Halen AI thing, which completely boggles my mind. Alex says that he's reached out to OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, about analyzing the patterns of how Edward would have played something, in hopes of generating new guitar riffs and solos. He's even suggested Led Zeppelin frontman Robert Plant to lead the project, despite the fact that the two haven't spoken in 30 years. You're going to think I'm out of my fucking mind, but when conditions are right, things will manifest. Regardless, it's a decision that will warrant much discussion within the Van Halen camp, given the way Wolfgang has previously expressed his reservations about putting out unreleased Van Halen material. Okay, I really do. Is he really out of his mind, or what is going on here? The one brother he was always the #1 supporter of Eddie's musical genius and guitar playing and innovations and everything. I just don't see why he wants to use AI to finish some of this stuff. You know what? Leave that stuff alone. Don't try to do AI with it. This is wrong. This is not what Eddie Van Halen would have wanted. He does not want AI to finish his compositions and solos. This is completely insane. How are you going to do that? Yeah, even if you can do that, I don't want to hear it because I know it's not going to be Eddie. It's going to be fake. I can't get on board with this. I don't know what to tell you guys. I have no issues against Alex Van Halen's the brother. Obviously, I have no say. I have zero say in the matter. That's Alex Van Halen. I mean, he's the drummer. He's Van Halen. He's the brother, everything. Obviously, nothing I say is going to matter to him or change his mind, whatever. But I really don't see the point in this. Sure, go out and find some stuff, use AI to restore some sounds, maybe put out some demo stuff, but completing it and having Robert Plant sing and do new drums and all this, there's no difference between that and like just using AI to create new Van Halen music. This is completely ridiculous. I'm sorry, I just can't agree with this. This is not going to work. Just leave it alone. Things have to be left alone. Move on, create new things. Don't try to rehash and don't try to make money out of stuff that's long gone. Why not go back and use AI to restore great concert footage and sound? Use all that stuff. You got tons of stuff in the vault that you can put out already. Now let's move on to something that really perked me up, to the Van Halen movie. The other project Alex is working on slowly is a Van Halen biopic, for which he's currently seeking a producer. It's just a long-term plan, he says. I mean, to put things in perspective, the Queen movie took 30 years to make. I would love this. First of all, it would be set in my hometown, LA. The only problem is that Eddie's not around to be a proper technical advisor or story advisor here, like Brian May was for the Queen movie. I'd love for them to explore him tinkering around in his workshop, something that really explored his guitar development work. The actual instrument itself and how he modified everything and just all the advancements and innovations he brought about in guitar making in general. Of course, his brilliant playing, his influences, of course, but I think people really need to know more about what an amazing guitar instrument innovator he was. But who are you going to be able to get that's going to be able to mime those amazing guitar parts and be a good actor? I don't know. Maybe some dudes out there, but usually great guitar players don't make great actors. So I don't know how that's going to go down, but I would love to see this movie. I mean, just to see, the perspective of the Los Angeles clubs back in the 70s, how everything was back then. I would love to see this. Okay, so I had to get this off my chest. Eddie is just too dear to me as one of my biggest guitar and music influences of all time. Please remember to subscribe, hit the bell, and drop a comment. What do you think of all this Alex, Dave, and Eddie madness? Don't forget to download my free guitar solo worksheet and checklist. It'll help you craft solos more effectively. Just click the link in the video description below and sign up to get your free copy. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps you immensely. Have an awesome creative day. He's even suggested Led Zeppelin frontman Robert Smith to lead the project.